Hey YouTube, I am back with another edition of Black Certified Financial Planners, and I have Romy Pickron here with me today to share her story. So you guys get ready. Romy, thank you so much for coming on today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me today, Jayson.
All right, now listen, a lot of people are asking questions. There's a lot of interest in what it takes to be a certified financial planner. I would like to ask you the first question. Why? Why did you want to be a certified financial planner? Where did that even come from?
Thank you so much for that question, Jayson. I really appreciate it. Basically, I wanted to become a certified financial planner to make an impact within the generational planning or generational building space.
Mhm.
I'm well aware that there is a gap, a generational and wealth gap within this country. So I wanted to make a difference. And for me, it started back in 2010 while I was
Mhm.
working at Fidelity Investments.
Mhm.
While working there, I noticed that there was one woman who was a portfolio manager. And throughout this time, I had seen many men portfolio managers.
Right.
And it sparked my interest in becoming a certified financial planner because I noticed throughout this time that we mostly spoke with men in helping them achieve their financial goals.
Right.
But I always wondered, like, what do their wives think about the finances? What do their
Right.
daughters think about the finances? And what type
Mhm.
of role do they play when it comes to financial planning? And I guess I would say the catalyst that really prompted me to pursue the certified financial planning designation
Mhm.
is when I saw a Black woman for the very first time on the cover of Financial Advisor magazine.
Oh, okay.
Yes. And this woman, she is actually a member of the Association of African American Financial Advisors.
Mhm.
And I saw her on the cover of Financial Advisor magazine back in 2017, I believe. And
Mhm.
that was the catalyst that prompted me to pursue the designation. And after then, I found out that it was more of a sense of urgency for me to become a financial advisor and
Mhm.
specifically a certified financial planner, as there are only 2% of us, 2% of African American certified financial planners
Mhm.
in the United States. So it
Right.
became more of an urgency
Mhm.
after learning that stat.
Oh, okay. Great. Okay. Yeah. Makes a lot of sense. So, for the people who watch this, I have students and career changers. So,
Yes.
as far as your educational route,
Mhm.
how did you get to where you are? Where did that start out with your educational route? What did you study? Was there any type of influences from mentors? What was that like?
Wow, that's an interesting question, Jayson, only because financial planning, like I did not originally plan to become a certified financial planner.
Hmm.
In college, I actually thought that I would become a news anchor.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
yeah, so it's really interesting how the universe and the stars aligned for me.
Uh-huh.
Because while I was at college at the University of Texas in Arlington, I was working at the bank part time as a teller. And this is all a part of the universe aligning and working in my favor.
Hmm.
And as I mentioned, I was studying to be a news anchor, but I minored in business. So I was taking like some economic courses, micro and
Hmm.
macro economics, while all working at the bank.
Wow.
So it was around my junior year that I
Hmm.
really started to like change my mind. I knew that, okay, I don't think I want to be a news anchor. And I was working at the bank, working around
Hmm.
money and I had got a promotion to like a loan officer. So I was really learning like the ins and the outs of banking and finances.
Right.
And not only that, for the very first time, I got exposure to like millionaires.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah,
Right.
that's what piqued my interest because I'm
Mhm.
like, these are just everyday people who worked hard, who saved their money, who
Mhm.
have been strategic with their money
Right.
And if they did it, I could do it. And so, as I mentioned, the stars really aligned for me because initially I had no interest in studying finances or starting a career within financial planning. But after working at the bank for so long and just learning the ins and outs of finances, I really became more interested in it because personally, I always wanted to grow my own money. And I knew that that was something that I needed to learn for myself. And quite frankly, I didn't have a lot of mentors starting out, unfortunately, because as I mentioned earlier, in the financial planning space, it is predominantly white male oriented.
Right.
And so I didn't have a lot of mentors starting out. It was for me just going in, digging in, and doing the work for myself and finding, areas that I wanted to pursue on my own. Luckily for individuals who are coming up now, young scholars who are coming up now, they have people like you and I to look up to, and Quad A, the Association of African American Financial Advisors, where we are a group of dedicated professionals where you can come to us for mentorship and where we have different events and we partner with different organizations to provide mentorship and assistance for people who are looking to pursue a career in financial planning.
Right. You know what is extremely interesting to me? Your background as far as wanting to be, a news anchor in the world of news and, presentation. Because from my experience personally and from other Black CFPs that I spoke with, the ability to actually present information, communications is almost as important as the mathematical skills.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, you're not a very good advisor if you can't get the client to actually buy in to the financial plan that you prepared for them, right?
Absolutely.
If they just take the plan and set it on, their desk at home, it doesn't mean anything. So how much has your, the skill sets that you got from being able to work within communications and being able to, communicate, how much has that helped you as being a Black CFP?
Very much so, as you mentioned, Jayson, because you definitely have to be able to communicate and relay financial information and make it relatable to people. Just like when you go into the doctor's office, sometimes you hear doctors or nurses using these big terms and then you have to kind of Google them or look them up.
Right.
So I never want anyone to feel like that when they are working with me at my company, Asset Achievers. I always want to make sure that I am being relatable and breaking the information down and making sure that whoever I'm speaking with, they're able to understand the topics and relate to those topics because financial topics are relatable. We use them every day in everything that we do. So having a background in communications is actually very important because you have to relay that information. And it's almost like you have to convince people to go through with your plan and to also understand the significance and the importance and the value of what you are proposing to them.
Yes. Yeah. I think that ties back to something that you mentioned earlier about the experience that you had working within the banking industry and being able to meet with actual millionaires. And there is a general myth about who a millionaire is and the way that they gain their wealth. And you talked about how, this is something that is possible. When trying to communicate a financial plan to the average person, most of the times what I get out of them is that it's boring. They're looking for something more exciting as a way to get rich than what the actual plan is. And to be able to get them to buy in, because there's so many distractions when it comes to social media and different things where they can get financial info from about how you can make money excitingly, right? Things of, getting into single stocks, like just one company that's just going to go to the moon, or cryptocurrencies.
Right.
Getting them to understand that that's not the way that most millionaires build their wealth can be an uphill road. You've been able to, build your own practice. Can you talk a little bit about that, about how your practice actually works and how you even got to the point where you are now?
Absolutely. So my practice is very new. I recently launched Asset Achievers this year after leaving my company of 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
And the mission of my company is to ensure that more women and more people of color join the movement of becoming generational wealth builders.
Uh-huh.
And as you mentioned, Jayson, some of the challenges that I have faced is that there is so much information out there, and there are so many new financial tools,
Mm-hmm.
and such as Bitcoin and NFTs and other things that have hit the market. And I'm all for
Right.
those things.
Right.
I'm all for those things because I believe in diversifying your assets across,
Yeah.
across many different platforms and resources and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm all for the new items that we have hitting the financial markets. But at the same time, because these new items are hitting the financial markets, as you mentioned, Jayson, they seem more exciting and they have more appeal. But people also don't account for the fact that they also have more risk. associated with those items. So of course it's good to have interest in them and good to even own some of those assets.
Mm-hmm.
But as you mentioned, Jayson, you have to make sure that you're doing your due diligence and that you have a mix
Mm-hmm.
of all of these assets to balance each other out. So I would say, for me, one of the key things is making sure that you educate people on all aspects, because we can talk about like how many millionaires and billionaires these assets have made, but then you don't hear about how many people have lost millions.
Yes.
In these assets, in these newer assets. So for me, the biggest thing is educating and making sure that people understand not only the pros, but also the cons of these different asset classes, and they're aware of how they may impact you financially and the benefits of each of these assets.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, there's always something that is like almost like the little red laser pin to cats when it comes to like new investors. They're always looking for the hottest, sexiest thing that's going to make them wealthy. And they kind of need us as almost a traffic cop, just slowing them down and just saying, hey, listen. We have a plan. This new thing is cool, and maybe we can add it to the overall portfolio.
Yes.
But don't dive head first into it as if you're going to, become a multi-billionaire by throwing all your money and effort into it. It can be a fight. Okay, but back to the main point. A lot of people watching these videos, they want to know about your process of actually studying for and passing the CFP exam.
Yes.
I think that's one of the biggest hurdles for some career changers and students. Can you speak about what your personal journey was when it comes to the CFP exam?
Yes, absolutely. So I got lucky, as I mentioned before, by working in the banking industry, starting out working in the banking industry while in college, and then transitioning my way into investing by working at one of the largest mutual fund companies in the US. So first, I would say, get your experience with a reputable company or firm, because that's where you're going to learn a bulk of your knowledge, whether it's sitting in on meetings and listening into financial advisors, or working as an assistant, where you're preparing documents and helping to prepare the portfolios. But get your experience with a reputable company or firm. And for me personally, I studied independently for 3 years through an independent program at the College for Financial Planning. So it was like a self-study, program for 3 years. And I would not recommend a program like that unless you are really patient and dedicated. Because for me, I had to just designate time on my own to ensure that I was studying and going through the process. So I would say to find a CFP program, a reputable CFP program, that's suitable for you, because we each have different learning styles, right?
Right. Absolutely.
So find a program that's suitable for you. And after you go through the program, what I would 100% recommend is that you take a review course.
Oh, yeah. I mean, to me, that's a no-brainer. Even when you get past the hurdle of being able to do the checkbox of, yes, you have completed a CFP board registered program, that you have the education side of the CFP done, you still are going to need the review course.
Yes.
Studying for the exam and passing all of the CFP courses are two separate things. At least it wasn't in my experience.
Yes. I was fortunate to pass the CFP exam on the first attempt last year in July of 2021. Thank you very much. And I credit most of that success to the review course. The review course is really what helped tie it all together for me.
Right.
And so I really can't say enough of how I would recommend taking that review course to ensure you put everything together and everything is all situated before you sit for the CFP exam.
Yeah. One of the things that they always ask, and it's like, okay, how many hours did you study? Like, what did you do? And I tell people, do what the review course instruct. Don't try to create your own little shortcut. Whatever the review course, and if it's a reputable one, there's a few big names within the industry that you can go to for your review course. Just do exactly what the review course tells you to do. They give you a schedule, right? They all that. Follow the schedule. Do the multiple choice questions and just knock it out, and you'll most likely be successful. Is there any one particular thing that you did that gave you a little extra confidence? For example, when I dedicated and said I'm going to get this exam done, I did 90 multiple choice questions every day, going up to maybe the 3, maybe almost 4 weeks before the exam. That gave me the confidence that I needed. I just dedicated every day. I had to do 90 questions every day. That's what I was going to focus on doing. Was there a particular thing that you did within your study and they gave you that extra boost of confidence?
Yes, actually, I definitely studied 2 hours every day, Monday through Saturday. Sunday was my day off because at first I was going crazy, like getting 7 days in, because I'm like, you know what, I got to get it in every day. And
right.
Don't do that. Take a day off. Take a day off.
Right.
Get you some rest. So my regimen was I studied 2 hours a day, and I actually did 50 review questions a day. Right. And then I started to level it down to where I would only practice the questions in which, like my challenge areas, so the questions in which I had a hard time. I would only do those questions towards the end, because by then, you know which topics are your stronger topics or your weaker topics.
Right, exactly.
So at the end of my study program, I focused on the weaker topics, and I would just hit them, those 50 questions daily. Initially, I tried going for 100, but then I started to notice, like towards the end, I would start to get a bit lazy, or I would not pay as much attention. So I knew if I got 50 in, those 50 questions would have my undivided attention. And the last thing that I done, I would say that was key for me, is making sure that I knew how to work the questions in which I needed a calculator for.
Yes.
So like those retirement
Yes.
planning questions, those tax questions, I did those forwards and backwards until I got them down. Because for me, if it's something that I can work out and it's a formula, I don't want to get those questions wrong. Like if I
Right.
don't know an answer, I just don't know it. But if it's a formula and I can actually work it out and come up
Yeah.
with the answer, I want to make sure that I get those answers right, because I feel like those are the ones that you should get right, because it's a formula. So
Yeah. The time value of money questions was something that I took extremely serious. I wanted to remember, okay, what's the order of operations? What's the first thing that I need to do? Especially when it
Mhm.
came to the case study questions. I was like, this should almost be free points if I
Right.
calm down, stay focused, and just remember how to attack this issue. And the thing about it is so practical. I mean, the information that I would learn from studying, I would be able to immediately in a client appointment or whatever. I'm just spitting this stuff out, even though like the day before, I'm breaking it down. They'll ask me a question that is something that is relatable and something that you can actually use. It made it relevant, because
Mhm.
studying for other things is like, I'll never use this, so I can't really, it doesn't stick in my head as good. There's nothing that I studied within the CFP exam where I said, oh, I'm never going to use this.
Right.
I couldn't think of
Yeah.
anything where it's like, I'm never going to use. No, almost everything in there is like, yes, this is real. This actually applies to my practice. This makes sense. This makes me a stronger advisor. Right?
Absolutely. I would
Yeah.
100% agree.
Yeah. And I mean, you like me, I think both of us, we achieved a level of success somewhat early in our careers. But there's always this sense of imposter syndrome that kind of lingers in the back of younger professionals' minds. I can
Yes.
tell anyone who's watching this, after you pass that CFP exam, I'm not saying 100% of your imposter syndrome will go away, but over 85% of that feeling of, do I really know what I'm talking about? Am I really qualified to do this? You pass the
Yes.
CFP exam, you're gonna feel like, yeah, I belong here in the seat that I'm occupying, and I know
Yes.
what the heck that I'm talking about. Did you kind of feel the same way?
Absolutely. As soon as I passed that CFP, oh my gosh, I couldn't wait to announce it on social media to my family. Because, for one, as we mentioned earlier, it's 2% of African Americans
Yeah.
who have this designation. Like,
Right.
we are a small but mighty group. You can't
Yes.
help but to feel proud of that. Like,
Mhm.
oh my gosh, it's such a huge accomplishment. And I think maybe it's a small, like 30% of, I believe it's around 30% of
Mhm.
women are financial advisors.
Wow. Yeah.
So to be in such I would say a small but elite group,
Yeah.
it does something to your pride. So yes, you definitely feel more confident. And as you mentioned, Jayson, that imposter syndrome, out the window, because
Right.
you mastered the CFP. You can do anything at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's extremely important. I mean, the second that kind of people realize, your expertise and the things that you are a trusted advisor, or at least they look at you as a resource when they
Mhm.
have those questions. Like, I have fraternity brothers who are attorneys. What if I have a legal question, I reach out to them, right? When they have financial questions, they call me up. It does give a big sense of pride when you're able
Mhm.
to be called on for your expertise in something, and to know that you reach the highest level, right? You
Mhm.
reach the highest level within your field when it comes to education. But one of the most important things to me is the ethics side of it. I'm not trying to look at my clients as customers. What can I sell them? I'm
Mhm.
trying to give them the best possible recommendations and advice to help them reach their financial goals. It's not about me and how I personally feel about something. It's about what can they do with the way that they currently, or the way that they plan to use their money in the future to achieve their goals. And it's something that more people need to get into, because it's a wide open field for people who want to be professionals. They want to help their community, but they're not exactly sure how they can get that done. I mean, have you seen that as far as your, relationship with friends and family? Have you become a resource for them?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, Jayson, because more of us, more African Americans, we're getting more educated. We're earning more money than we've
Yes.
ever earned before. So there is a huge need and almost a gap between the people who need the advice and the amount of financial advisors that are available to assist them. So, yes, of course, I have seen my friends, my family members come to me as a resource and as an expert in this field. And that also makes me feel so very proud to be able to assist them with their finances.
Yeah. Well, you're not just an advisor, you're also a small business owner. You recently started your own practice. What is the goal of your firm? I mean, is there a particular type of client that you're looking to specialize in? I mean, what's the 5-year, 10-year? What would you ultimately like to see your firm direction go?
That's a great question, Jayson. Being that I am a new business owner, I have
Mhm.
lofty goals. And,
Uh-huh.
working at some of the larger financial firms, I've always worked with high value clients. So, $1 million clients,
Mhm.
clients who were, earning all this money and who had saved and invested all of this money. And so, starting out and working with first generational wealth builders, my goal is to work with these first generational wealth builders. So, people who are almost new to financial planning and new to wealth building. And we have the income, as I mentioned, we're earning the most money than that we've ever earned. So, we
Right.
have the income. It's a matter of making that money work for us and getting smarter and more strategic about our money. So my goal is to work with these first generational wealth builders and to help them become millionaires and billionaires and be able to leave a strong legacy for their family. That's my ultimate goal, is to be able to help people leave a legacy for their family.
Awesome, awesome. So, if you were going to be speaking to a younger version of yourself, or a
Mhm.
student or a career changer who's interested into getting into financial planning, what would be the one piece of advice? I mean, obviously, you've been through it. You went through the maze and got out to the other side. What piece of advice would you give that person?
Find a mentor.
Hmm.
Find a mentor, because that will make your life so much easier. There's so much information out here, especially for the younger generation, because you have the YouTubes, you
Yeah.
have Instagram, and now we
Mhm.
have TikTok. So there's just a plethora of information out there, which is
Right.
great. That's all wonderful. But a
Mhm.
lot of times it can be overwhelming and you don't necessarily know which direction to go in. So I would say, find someone who is in a career that you're interested in and hit them up directly. Hit them up on any one of the social channels that you can get in touch with them, either Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. Hit them up, because you would be surprised how responsive people are. When I was looking for a mentor, that was one of the first things I did. I went to LinkedIn and I
Mhm.
actually hit the president of a corporation up. I sent them a message. I sent them a direct message on LinkedIn, and I was so
Uh-huh.
surprised that this person responded within 30 minutes of me
Oh,
sending
wow.
them a message.
Wow.
They responded within 30 minutes of me sending a message. They
Mhm.
sent me a resource to where I was able to get a scholarship for the CFP, to
Wow.
study
Okay.
for the CFP. And they actually directed me towards Quad A, the Association of African American Financial Advisors. So
Amazing.
find a mentor and be brave. Reach out
Mhm.
to them directly.
Wow.
And if
Wow.
you don't hear from them, which you will hear from them, you will hear from them. But if it takes a little bit of time, don't be afraid to ping them again, because
Mhm.
usually people are very responsive and like to help others.
Right. No, that's a great point, because I get a bunch of emails, and my issue is I'll see an email, I'll respond in my head, and never type anything. So yeah, yeah, yeah. don't be afraid to just say, hey, I'm just following up, because that is helpful. So if someone was interested in getting into contact with you, how can they reach out?
Please contact me. You can reach me by email at info@assetachievers.com. That's by email. I'm also on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter, and you can reach me at Asset Achievers. Those are my handles.
Awesome. I'm going to make sure that I get all of that stuff and put it into the show notes. So if someone is watching on YouTube, you can just click the description of this video and you can find all of her information there. So listen, thank you so much for coming on and doing this interview. A lot of people really do hit me up in emails and ask me questions about how did I become a certified financial planner, what the career is like. And I really enjoy interviewing other Black CFPs and getting their story. And your story is amazing. So thank you for coming on.
My pleasure. Thank you again for having me, Jayson.
All right.